most common factors that we have seen in sort of startups failures, especially product and service sales, is there's a common denominator there. And that common denominator is sense of entitlement, right? That is something we see as a very common mistake that the startups make when they approach their sales. That's the common mistake we see that the startups make when they are trying to pitch their products. It's the sense of entitlement that people develop over a period of time because they fall in love with the solution and they don't fall in love with the problem, right? So many times I have seen founders, startups build these amazing fancy tools with bells and whistles and red bows on them and ties in them, etc. But they are still unclear about the absolute problem that they're solving, and they're unable to clearly articulate that how their solution will change the world, how their solution will alleviate a pain point. And they almost develop this sense of entitlement that I have the best product in the world and everybody should be buying it.
Yeah, so people should just get it what the product is.
Correct. I mean, it's this sense of false belief that, oh, you don't have my product, you should be having it. No, it's the best thing in the world. And this is one of the common failures I see where people are so, I would say, convinced with their own false narrative that they forget to look at the problem for the consumer and the buyer of what they are trying to sell. So yeah, that's something I would definitely say is a common symptom of failure.
That was going to be my very next question about common failures that you have seen in this startup world. So thank you for sharing that insight. One story I do want to touch base on is, have you implemented any kind of like unconventional sales tactics or unconventional business strategy that significantly help the company in a way?
So I would probably break it down into two parts.
Okay.
One is the tactic or technique, and the second is the value, right? So the truth be told, there is no secret sauce to selling, right? People give you all sorts of BS around technique A versus technique B versus technique C, and method 1 versus method 2 versus method 3, and process this and process that. To be honest, there is no secret sauce to it. There are two very simple things to sell,
Okay.
to selling anything. One, simplicity, and second, value. So I'll come to simplicity first. Whatever product you are trying to sell, whatever product you are building to sell,
Yeah.
have you done your mom test?
Mom test.
I'm sure you have heard of the book Mom Test. It's a very popular, very famous book on sales called the Mom Test. If you Google it, you will find it. So Mom Test is a very popular, very famous, very, very fundamental and foundational sales technique, method. In a nutshell, it talks about whatever you are building to sell or whatever you are selling, will your mom buy it for $4.99 or not? That's the overall cover. But in simple words, it says, is it simple? Is it clearly understood?
Mhm.
Is it something that is compelling, clear, simple, and easy to buy? And that's where this analogy and reference to the mom comes in. If you can sell it to your mom, you can sell it to anybody else. And I think it dives deeper into the clarity of the message, the convenience of using it, the convenience of buying it, etc., etc. So this is where I would say simplicity about the product, the service. It should not be confusing, loaded with jargons, coming in from this dystopian AI terminology. But only makes it confusing. I mean, there's a old saying. I think Albert Einstein said it. If I remember correctly, I think it's a quote by Albert Einstein. If you cannot explain it simply enough, you don't know it at all. It's a quote which goes in. I mean, I may be mixing up a few words here and there, but in the nutshell, that quote says that if you can't explain it in simple words, you don't know what you're talking about. That's what the message in that quote is, and I'm a great fan of that quote. That if you are approaching a sale, if you're approaching a product which you want to sell or a service you want to sell, If you cannot explain it in simple words, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're selling. You have no idea why the customer should buy it.
Right.
It's as simple as that. And the second, I think, part of the equation is value. Now, what is the value you are driving? What you are trying to sell and what you're expecting people to buy from you, is that going to alleviate a pain? Is going to solve a problem? Is going to change their life? Is going to improve their life in a certain way? If you're not delivering value for that buyer or for that user, you are then literally trying to push, send, and sell something that they don't need, they don't want to buy.